Welcome everybody to episode 48, and we're talking about a man named Aristobulus. But before we get to him, Gerald, this excites me so much, just to talk about relationship. Every single thing that's just been happening, even in our ministries, is relationship.
Yeah. I said it last week, I'll say it again. I genuinely believe relationships shift different things within the kingdom. And without relationship, it means nothing. Nothing.
Agree 100%. So we're talking about Paul and the relationships that he had here while he was on earth and the people that supported him in his ministry. Aristobulus is this person that's been mentioned in the Bible.
Romans 8, end of Romans 8.
And he was tested and approved in Christ,
Yeah.
in Romans 8. And talking about his household. So here's a man that's had a relationship with Paul, obviously. But it's believed that he was one of the 70 that was sent out by Jesus.
Yeah.
So he had a first-hand encounter with Jesus.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, here's Paul being influenced by that 70 people, obviously, because Paul persecuted some of these Christians.
Yeah. I think you said something offline, and maybe I want to lead into it because it's triggered my thinking. So Jesus sends him, and what's the whole story there? Jesus says, listen, the harvest is plentiful, the laborers are few. I need you to start. So he's a part of this group of people that start the work of God. But then as people come to Christ, namely one of them being Paul, he realizes that I'm not only going to be able to preach to these people, but I'm going to have to welcome these people into my homes. And Paul makes his way into his home. And you know, Raina, I know if there's someone above 60 watching this right now, they'll say to me, Gerald speaking the truth, because the power of the early church, I'm talking about in our days, was that everybody knew where everybody lived, and they were in each other's homes, and they were praying for each other, and they were, it was a tight, but we've become very loose regarding relationships in each other's homes. We're too busy. We're not in each other's homes, But here's a guy who welcomed Paul into his house, and so much so that Paul says, listen, don't just send him greetings.
His whole household.
Tell his sons, tell his daughters, tell his wife, tell everyone that was so kind to me. Hello. I just think it's a great example again of relationship, honestly.
Yeah, no, what you're saying is just, it's stirring up something in my heart. How many times have we actually prayed for people to come to know Christ? But as soon as they come to Christ, we actually have doubt. Have their lives really been changed? We were the ones praying for them. And I'm thinking about this man praying, obviously, for Paul, for instance, or being part of the ones that's influencing Paul. And we know he was Saul, being converted, and all of a sudden then opening his house. How many times would we have people that come into our church buildings?
Yeah, who've persecuted our other family members.
Persecuted, but they don't look like we did beforehand. And now all of a sudden we have to take that step of faith, knowing that they had an encounter with God and also making them part of our family. Would we actually open up our homes for most of the people that come to salvation in the churches?
And give them an opportunity and the grace to change.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I sometimes think, again, my problem is not with the church. My problem is with Gerald Ferreira. I need to change my mind. I need to change my heart. I need to change my actions regarding the possibility of someone coming to Christ. Do I really believe that Christ can transform them? Do I really believe that? And if I believe that, am I willing to make the investment in their life? Do the time, do the relationship, spend the hours, so that their lives could influence many other people. Just think about Aristobulus' family there. His young kids, his sons, his daughters, whoever they. Imagine them being able to say forever, oh, don't worry about it. Paul, he was at our home. I can tell you stories about him. He's this and that and he's that. It's just incredible when you open your lives to someone else, how their lives could influence the next generation underneath you.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. And I have fond memories of pastors that came to visit us at our house, spending time with my dad, hearing the stories, and that influenced my life. And hearing
That's a good example.
miracles of things, and when you come to a situation, I've heard this story before.
Yeah.
I know God can heal that a lame person. I've heard the stories of people standing out of wheelchairs, and so you were encouraged as a child by these amazing testimonies.
And you know what you've got on me that I don't have? I never had that.
Yeah.
I never had that. Can't tell you a story of us hosting anyone. We hosted a couple of drunk people. but have no stories of faith where I was a little boy who had the privilege of hearing my father's friends tell the story. My kids have that privilege.
Yes.
They've got people around me, I'm around them. We're telling stories of God's grace, God's glory, God's provision all the time. So, that is a huge privilege. I love the way you put that.
I think it's a privilege hearing the stories. That's definitely, but in your case, also being the story, being that testimony, being able to share that story. And that's the thing that, it just comes back to that revelation. It's by the blood of the Lamb, the power of our testimonies, the power that we share, that stories that we tell people, that inspires and that gives hope to people that we should never stop sharing.
I tell you, Romans 16:10, greet those who belong to the household of Aristobulus. I'm Paul in this story. I can tell you of so many people whose houses have been opened to me. And now when I phone around the country or around the world, I'm able to say, do me a favor, send greetings to your family as well. Let them know we spoke. Yeah. Let them know I say hello. It's just something very powerful. And I want to say this, imagine the fruit or the satisfaction of knowing that this thing I went and did has now produced this great convert in Paul. Here's a man who put his hand to the plow, probably wondered if it was working. And now suddenly he sees the fruit of Paul. I just think that's...
And the impact that it makes on his family.
And it makes on his family.
And everybody
Incredible.
around him. Oh.
Well, you think about it. I mean, you and I knew you, but you and I actually became closer friends with your father first than what I was with you. And yeah, we are now, by the grace of God, out of that relationship, being able to work together.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Yeah, no, that is, and I think once again, comes down to relationship,
Absolutely.
Hearing testimonies, sharing stories, and that's what it should be about. Last take on this? Last thoughts?
No, I just think I'm encouraged, again, just by the early church here and their understanding of taking the time to greet each other. You look at my program on a weekly basis. How many times am I just phoning people that have been good to me and just saying, hey, just want to greet you. Hey, just want to say hello. Phoning pastors around us. We're not doing that. Yeah. The early church had an acknowledgement before they took the message. They wanted to tie down the relationship. And in all Paul's writings, he's going to write to Corinth, he's going to write to these people, he's going to write to these people. But just before he does that, he says, I've got a message for you, but what's far more important than the message is that we first tie up the relationship. Yeah. And that's my lesson and my encouragement to everyone out there. Do the relationship before you do the lesson.
Mic drop. If you could have. But that's it. From our side, if you did enjoy this podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember, you can listen to it on Spotify. And leave a comment below. We are more than willing also to answer any questions. Nothing but love.
Nothing but love, friends.